In the year 2147, humanity had reached a point in history that once belonged only to science fiction. People were no longer confined to Earth. They had learned to travel across the stars, explore new worlds, and build colonies far from their home planet. It was a time of excitement, hope, and fear all mixed together. Among the many places humans had settled, one of the most remote and important was an outpost called Nova Horizon. This outpost was not just another colony. It was a small, highly advanced station at the very edge of human-controlled space. Its main job was to observe the unknown parts of the galaxy, monitor any unusual activity, and protect Earth's interests in areas that were still wild and dangerous. Nova Horizon was built on a barren, rocky planet that few would have chosen to live on willingly. The surface was cold, the air thin, and storms could appear without warning. But for humans, this was part of the adventure. Engineers and scientists had worked for decades to make the planet habitable. They built large domes that could hold air, water, and food, and set up powerful sensors that could detect anything moving in space. Despite all these preparations, life on Nova Horizon was never easy. Every day was a challenge. The people who lived there had to be strong, disciplined, and ready to face dangers that were unimaginable on Earth. The crew of Nova Horizon was small, but carefully chosen. There were scientists who studied the stars, engineers who maintained the station's systems, and military officers who kept everyone safe. Each person had trained for years to survive in extreme conditions and to make quick decisions when things went wrong. They had to be prepared for isolation, as help from Earth could take months to arrive if something serious happened. Communication with the home planet was slow, so everyone on Nova Horizon had to be self-reliant. They had to solve problems on their own and trust each other completely. Life at the outpost followed a strict routine. Every morning, the crew checked all the equipment, monitored energy levels, and scanned the nearby space for any unusual activity. Even small anomalies could mean danger. A sudden burst of radiation, an unexplained ship movement, or a signal from an unknown source could indicate a threat. The crew understood that in this part of the galaxy, humans were not the only intelligent species, and that not all beings they might encounter would be friendly. Yet, despite the risks, the outpost had a sense of purpose. It represented humanity's courage and ambition. Being stationed at Nova Horizon was both an honor and a heavy responsibility. The crew also had to deal with loneliness. With only a handful of people around, days could feel long and nights even longer. There was no bustling city, no restaurants, no parks, just endless rock and sky. The stars were beautiful, but they were also a reminder of how isolated they were. Each member of the crew had to find ways to stay sane, to remain focused, and to support each other emotionally. They played games, held meetings to talk about personal feelings, and sometimes just sat in silence, staring at the stars and thinking about Earth. It was a life of discipline, patience, and quiet heroism. Even though Nova Horizon was remote, it was crucial for Earth's future. The outpost acted as an early warning system, a place where humans could detect any potential threats before they reached more populated planets. If Earth's leaders were to make informed decisions about defense or expansion, they needed data from the edge of human space. Nova Horizon provided that data. The sensors and instruments there could detect ships moving light years away, measure unusual energy signatures, and pick up signals that might indicate intelligent life. The outpost was humanity's eyes and ears in a region of space that was otherwise unknown. The technology at Nova Horizon was both impressive and fragile. The domes protecting the crew were strong, but they could be damaged by meteors or extreme storms. The power systems relied on a combination of solar energy and advanced nuclear reactors. If anything went wrong with these systems, the entire crew could be in serious danger. This constant need for maintenance and vigilance meant that every person on the station had a role, and failure was never an option. Mistakes could be deadly, and everyone knew it. The pressure was intense, but it also created a strong sense of unity. The crew depended on each other completely. Despite the harsh conditions, life on Nova Horizon was not without its moments of joy. The crew often celebrated small victories, repairing a broken system, discovering a new phenomenon in space, or successfully sending a report back to Earth. They shared meals, told stories, and sometimes even held celebrations for birthdays or special achievements. These moments of camaraderie were essential. They reminded everyone that even in a place so far from home, they were still human, with emotions, hopes, and dreams. These small moments of happiness helped balance the constant stress of living on the edge of known space. The isolation also created a sense of awe and wonder. The stars at night were brighter than anything seen from Earth. Meteors streaked across the sky in dazzling displays, and distant planets could be observed in detail thanks to the station's powerful telescopes. The crew often felt a mix of humility and pride. They were a tiny part of a vast universe, yet they were the ones standing guard over humanity's expansion. They knew that the information they collected could save lives and guide humanity's next steps. Each scan, each observation, each careful report was a contribution to a larger mission that went far beyond personal ambition. Nova Horizon was also a place where humans learned the limits of their own endurance. Living in an extreme environment required mental toughness, patience, and careful planning. Supplies had to be rationed. Every repair had to be precise. Every observation had to be recorded accurately. There was no room for laziness or carelessness. The crew had to constantly remind themselves why they were there and what was at stake. Earth's safety and humanity's future depended on their work, and failure was not an option. Despite all the preparation, the crew knew they were vulnerable. They had defense systems, but the outpost was small and could be overwhelmed by a larger, more advanced force. The knowledge that danger could arrive at any moment was always in the back of their minds. Yet, this danger was part of what made the mission meaningful. It forced them to be vigilant, to innovate, and to push the boundaries of human capability. The people of Nova Horizon were pioneers, not just in exploration, but in courage, endurance, and the ability to face the unknown without fear. In summary, Nova Horizon was more than just a station on a distant planet. It was a symbol of human ambition, bravery, and curiosity. The crew lived in extreme conditions, facing isolation, danger, and the constant pressure to succeed. They were the eyes and ears of humanity in a dangerous and uncharted part of space. Life there was difficult, lonely, and sometimes frightening. But it was also filled with purpose, camaraderie, and wonder. Every day, the crew faced challenges that tested their skills, courage, and humanity. They were not just surviving, they were building the future, laying the foundation for human expansion into the stars, and proving that even in the most remote corners of the universe, humans could thrive, endure, and make a difference. In the months following the establishment of Nova Horizon, the crew had settled into a rhythm that balanced work, observation, and moments of rare relaxation. Life on the edge of human space was difficult, but manageable. Each day followed a strict schedule, monitoring the outpost's systems, analyzing data from nearby planets, tracking the faint signals of distant stars, and performing maintenance on the station's delicate equipment. Despite the harsh conditions and isolation, the crew felt confident in their ability to survive and complete their mission. They had prepared for countless scenarios, and routine problems were always met with methodical solutions. However, the universe has a way of reminding humans that it is full of unknown dangers. One ordinary day, while the crew was conducting their routine scans, the station's sensors picked up unusual readings in a nearby sector of space. At first, the signals seemed like normal cosmic interference, random bursts of energy from a distant star or solar radiation bouncing off debris. But as the hours passed, the readings became increasingly structured. The energy pulses repeated in patterns, moving in ways that suggested controlled movement rather than natural phenomena. The lead scientist, Dr. Lena Morales, immediately recognized that these signals were unlike anything she had encountered before. They were not just anomalies, they were the movements of something alive, something intelligent. The crew's initial reaction was curiosity mixed with caution. Space had always been full of surprises, and encounters with unknown life forms, though rare, were a part of the mission. Still, there was a growing sense of unease. As the signals continued, the military officers on the outpost began running simulations, trying to determine the possible size, speed, and technology of whatever entity was approaching. Their analysis suggested that these were not exploratory vessels. They were armed, fast, and highly coordinated. The data pointed toward an organized force rather than a random, unintentional visitor. Nova Horizon's commander, Captain Elias Ford, called an emergency meeting to discuss the potential threat. During the meeting, the crew reviewed all available data. They considered every possible explanation. Could it be a rogue faction of humans from another colony? Was it an unknown alien species? Or perhaps it was a natural phenomenon that mimicked intelligent movement? Each theory was debated rigorously, but evidence increasingly pointed to one conclusion: something hostile was approaching. The realization sent a wave of tension through the room. Humans had trained for emergencies, but the thought of facing an intelligent, aggressive species for the first time was unnerving. The crew understood that the stakes were higher than anything they had faced before. Over the next several hours, Nova Horizon prepared for the possibility of an attack. Defense systems were activated, communication channels were cleared, and all personnel were stationed at strategic points throughout the outpost. Every crew member, from scientists to engineers, took part in fortifying the station. Shields were reinforced, weapon systems tested, and emergency protocols reviewed. Captain Ford emphasized that while panic was natural, it would not help them survive. Decisive action was the only way to ensure the safety of the crew and the continued mission of Nova Horizon. Despite the tension, there was a sense of pride in the crew. They were facing a challenge unlike any other, and their preparation and teamwork were about to be tested in ways they could never fully predict. As the unknown fleet drew closer, the crew began to see them visually on the outpost's scanners. Hundreds of sleek, dark ships moved in perfect formation, their designs unlike any known human spacecraft. Each vessel emitted a faint glow, powered by an energy source that seemed far more advanced than anything humanity had developed. The fleet did not respond to hails or attempts at communication. Instead, their approach was direct and purposeful. Confirming the crew's worst fears, This was not a diplomatic encounter, it was an attack. Anxiety among the crew increased, but they relied on their training to remain focused. Each person knew their role, and despite the fear, there was a shared determination to protect the outpost at all costs. The first wave of the attack began without warning. Small, fast ships broke off from the main fleet and launched high-energy projectiles at the outpost. Shields absorbed much of the initial impact, but the explosions shook the station, and several structural panels were damaged. Lights flickered, alarms blared, and the hum of emergency systems filled the air. Crew members rushed to repair the damage and ensure that no critical systems failed. The outpost's defenses retaliated, firing coordinated blasts at the incoming ships. Though they managed to destroy a few attackers, the enemy's numbers and speed made it clear that Nova Horizon was outmatched. The battle was not just about survival, it was a test of endurance, strategy, and human ingenuity. As the attack continued, casualties began to mount. Crew members were injured, some seriously, and the medical team worked tirelessly to stabilize them. Every corner of the station became a scene of intense activity: engineers repairing damaged shields, scientists monitoring enemy patterns, and military personnel engaging in combat to protect vital areas. The tension was palpable, and exhaustion began to weigh heavily on everyone. Yet, amidst the chaos, the crew demonstrated remarkable courage and unity. Every decision, every action, was critical, and each person understood that their performance could determine the outcome of the battle. The attack escalated further when the enemy deployed larger vessels equipped with devastating weapons. These ships targeted key infrastructure, aiming to cripple Nova Horizon's ability to communicate with Earth or defend itself. The crew realized that if these attacks succeeded, the outpost would be isolated and easily destroyed. Captain Ford made a critical decision to prioritize the survival of the station's core systems over less essential areas. This meant evacuating certain sections and concentrating forces where they were most needed. The strategy was risky, but it was the only chance to maintain a foothold in this remote region of space. Throughout the assault, the crew continuously analyzed enemy behavior, searching for weaknesses or patterns. Dr. Morales and her team worked frantically to understand the alien technology, hoping to exploit any vulnerabilities. Despite their fear and fatigue, they remained determined. Each small success disabling an enemy ship, repairing a critical system, or predicting the enemy's next move brought a renewed hope. The battle was not just physical, it was mental and emotional, a test of endurance and intelligence as much as firepower. The crew's resilience was pushed to its limits, but their shared purpose and training helped them persevere. By the end of the first day of combat, it became clear that Nova Horizon could not withstand a prolonged assault alone. The outpost had successfully defended against initial attacks, but the enemy's persistence and technological superiority were undeniable. The crew sent urgent messages to Earth, describing the situation and requesting immediate reinforcements. They knew that survival depended not only on their efforts but also on a rapid response from humanity's central command. The fear of isolation was real, but the crew's courage and ingenuity had bought them precious time. Every decision, every maneuver, had been critical in keeping the outpost operational. The attack also had a psychological impact on the crew. Many experienced moments of doubt, fear, and grief for injured colleagues, but even in these moments, the bonds between them grew stronger. They relied on one another for support, encouragement, and guidance. The experience reinforced the importance of teamwork, trust, and shared responsibility in facing a threat far beyond anything they had encountered before. The crew of Nova Horizon discovered the depth of their resilience and the extraordinary capacity of humans to adapt under extreme stress. As night fell on the planet below, the alien fleet temporarily withdrew, giving the crew a brief respite. They used this time to repair damage, tend to the injured, and analyze what had happened. While exhaustion was overwhelming, there was also a sense of accomplishment. The outpost had survived its first encounter with a hostile alien force, proving that humanity's determination and preparation could withstand even the most formidable challenges. Yet they also knew this was only the beginning. The aliens had shown their intent, their technology, and their ruthlessness. The crew understood that future encounters would be even more dangerous, and that the stakes for humanity's presence in this part of space had just grown unimaginably higher. In those quiet moments after the initial attack, the crew reflected on what it meant to live on the frontier of human space. They realized that their mission was no longer just scientific exploration or monitoring, it was about survival, defense, and the preservation of humanity's future. Every scan, every calculation, every defensive maneuver was now part of a larger struggle that extended far beyond Nova Horizon. The crew's courage, intelligence, and unity had carried them through the first wave of danger, but the road ahead promised challenges of even greater magnitude. The rising challenge at Nova Horizon marked a turning point in human space exploration. It was no longer a journey of discovery alone. It was a battle for survival, a test of humanity's ability to confront and overcome threats in the vast unknown universe. Each member of the crew understood that their actions could determine not only the fate of the outpost, but also the safety of distant colonies and Earth itself. The events of that day would be remembered for years to come as the moment when humanity faced its first true interstellar threat, and proved that, even at the edge of the galaxy, humans could endure, fight back, and adapt against overwhelming odds. The alien fleet that had attacked Nova Horizon returned with even greater force. The initial wave had been a warning, a test of human defenses, but this time their intent was clear. They wanted to destroy the outpost completely. The crew could feel the tension rising to an unbearable level. Even those who were experienced, trained, and mentally prepared for danger felt a new kind of fear and instinctive understanding that this battle might be unlike anything they had faced before. Every sound, every alarm, every flicker of light could signal an imminent strike. There was no room for hesitation, and every decision could mean life or death. The fleet approached in coordinated waves, each one larger and more precise than the last. Captain Elias Ford and his officers worked quickly to assess the enemy's patterns. They noticed that the alien ships were not acting randomly. Every maneuver was calculated, almost surgical. They targeted specific points of the outpost with incredible accuracy, aiming to disable communications, energy systems, and defenses in the shortest possible time. It became immediately clear that survival would require more than reactive defense. The crew had to anticipate attacks, predict enemy behavior, and strike back with precision. The first moments of the attack were chaos. Explosions rocked the outpost, sending shudders through the reinforced domes. Lights flickered, warning sirens blared, and smoke began to fill some sections. Crew members ran through corridors, checking equipment, tending to the injured, and coordinating defense systems. The sense of urgency was absolute. Even the smallest delay could have catastrophic consequences. Engineers worked frantically to reroute power to damaged systems while scientists analyzed enemy movements in real time, looking for weak spots they could exploit. Each person had to operate at the peak of their abilities under extreme stress, despite their exhaustion from the first attack. The crew refused to yield. They were determined to protect Nova Horizon at all costs. The soldiers manning the outpost's defense turrets fired continuously, coordinating their shots to intercept incoming projectiles and enemy ships. The engineers reinforced shields while rerouting energy to critical systems. Medical teams worked under pressure to treat injuries, stabilizing crew members while remaining alert to new threats. It was a battle of endurance as much as skill. Every action was deliberate, every decision mattered, and mistakes could be fatal. As the assault escalated, the enemy unleashed new technology that the crew had never seen before. Large, heavily armored vessels fired energy beams capable of penetrating the station's shields. Explosions tore through outer sections of the outpost, forcing emergency evacuations from certain areas. Captain Ford realized that Nova Horizon could not survive under a continuous frontal attack. He made the difficult decision to abandon non-essential sections of the station, focusing all available resources on defending the core systems. The move was risky, but it was necessary to keep the outpost operational amid the chaos. The crew's training and cohesion were put to the ultimate test. Scientists, engineers, and soldiers had to work together seamlessly. Each observation, repair, or calculation could save lives. Dr. Lena Morales led a team trying to hack into the alien ship's energy signatures, hoping to create a temporary disruption that would slow their attack. Meanwhile, soldiers focused on intercepting projectiles, and engineers monitored the shields, making split-second adjustments to prevent breaches. The situation was tense, nerve-wracking, and exhausting, but the crew's determination never wavered. The alien strategy became even more aggressive. They attempted to cut off all lines of communication, hoping to isolate Nova Horizon completely. The outpost relied on a fragile network of satellites and relays to communicate with Earth. If these systems failed, the crew would be stranded with no reinforcements and no guidance. Every repair and defense maneuver now carried an even heavier weight. Crew members understood that the survival of Nova Horizon and possibly the safety of distant human colonies depended entirely on their ability to maintain communication and control. The intensity of the attack reached its peak when the enemy targeted the power core of Nova Horizon. This was the heart of the outpost. If it was destroyed, the station would be rendered inoperable, and life support systems would fail. Engineers and technicians worked frantically to stabilize the core while soldiers defended the surrounding areas. Explosions shook the facility, and alarms screamed continuously, but the crew refused to stop. They coordinated their efforts with precision and determination, knowing that failure was not an option. Every second counted, and every decision had to be perfect. Despite their efforts, casualties mounted. Injuries were severe, and some crew members were lost. Yet, even in the face of devastating losses, the remaining personnel fought harder. Captain Ford moved throughout the station, providing leadership and encouragement. He reminded the crew of their training, their purpose, and their resilience. Each crew member drew strength from one another, forming an unbreakable bond. The shared goal of defending Nova Horizon and protecting humanity created a unity that allowed them to endure the seemingly impossible. At a critical moment, Dr. Morales discovered a potential weakness in the alien fleet's formation. By analyzing their movements and energy signatures, She identified a pattern in their attacks that could be exploited. She shared this information with Captain Ford, who immediately devised a counterstrategy. The crew executed a coordinated maneuver. Defensive turrets focused on key enemy ships while engineers prepared a high-energy pulse to disrupt their communication and propulsion systems temporarily. It was a risky plan, but it offered the best chance to gain the upper hand. The maneuver was executed with precision. The high-energy pulse caused several enemy vessels to lose coordination, creating confusion in their formation. Defensive turrets targeted the disoriented ships, destroying some and forcing others to retreat temporarily. The tide of the battle began to shift, giving Nova Horizon a brief advantage. For the first time, the crew felt a glimmer of hope. Their training, ingenuity, and determination were proving effective against a seemingly invincible force. Though the battle was far from over, this critical moment demonstrated that humans could face overwhelming odds and still prevail, even if only temporarily. However, the crew understood that the enemy would regroup and strike again. They had bought time, but the larger threat remained. Captain Ford quickly reassessed the situation, reinforcing defenses and preparing for the next wave of attacks. He also coordinated with Earth, sending detailed reports on the alien fleet's technology, strategies, and numbers. It was essential that Earth understood the severity of the situation and mobilized support. Nova Horizon could not endure another full-scale attack without reinforcements. The psychological strain on the crew was immense. Fatigue, fear, and grief threatened to overwhelm them. Yet, in those moments of extreme pressure, the human spirit showed its resilience. Crew members encouraged one another, shared the burden of responsibility, and remained focused on the mission. The battle was not only a test of physical strength and technological skill, but also of mental endurance and emotional stability. The crew's ability to function as a unified team under such extreme conditions was remarkable. During the escalation, unexpected challenges continued to arise. Some systems failed despite the crew's best efforts, and improvisation became essential. Engineers had to find creative solutions using limited resources. Soldiers adapted to new combat tactics on the fly. Scientists developed real-time strategies to analyze enemy behavior and anticipate attacks. Each success, no matter how small, was critical in maintaining the outpost's survival. The crew's adaptability became their most valuable asset in the face of a relentless and technologically superior enemy. As the critical moment unfolded, the crew realized that survival depended on more than just defense. It required initiative. They could not wait for the enemy to make mistakes. They had to create opportunities. Using their understanding of the alien fleet's behavior, they launched targeted counterattacks, disrupting supply vessels and forcing enemy ships into vulnerable positions. These actions slowed the assault and demonstrated that, even against a far superior force, intelligence, coordination, and courage could shift the balance. By the end of the day, Nova Horizon had survived the critical moment, but the cost was high. Parts of the station were damaged, some crew members were injured, and the psychological impact was profound. Yet, in surviving, they proved that humanity could face extraordinary danger with resilience, ingenuity, and unwavering determination. The experience solidified their understanding that in the vastness of space, survival required not only preparation but also courage, adaptability, and unity. In the aftermath of the critical assault, the crew of Nova Horizon knew that their fight was far from over. The alien fleet had demonstrated its power and determination, but humans had shown that they could endure, adapt, and counter even the most formidable threats. The battle had been a defining moment, testing every skill, every decision, and every ounce of courage the crew possessed. They had faced the edge of destruction and had emerged, battered but unbroken, ready to continue the fight for survival, defense, and the future of humanity in the unknown reaches of space. The battle that had raged around Nova Horizon had pushed every member of the crew to the absolute limit. Fatigue weighed heavily on their bodies, and the psychological strain of facing a highly advanced alien fleet left scars that were invisible but deeply felt. Despite this, the crew understood that the survival of the outpost, and possibly the survival of human colonies, depended on one crucial next step: turning defense into decisive action. The critical moment of the previous attacks had taught them that pure reaction was not enough. They had to act, to respond in a way that would ensure the long-term safety of humanity, and to prevent further attacks that could overwhelm them again. Earth, observing the unfolding crisis from light years away, moved quickly. Communications from Nova Horizon had been clear and precise, detailing the enemy's technological capabilities, fleet formation, and attack patterns. Military councils convened in emergency sessions, and the decision was made to deploy an overwhelming force not just to defend the outpost, but to neutralize the alien threat at its source. This decision was unprecedented. Humanity had never before launched a strike so far from Earth, against an intelligent species that had demonstrated the ability to threaten human colonies. The stakes were immense, and the risks were enormous. Yet, the Council recognized that hesitation could result in catastrophic losses. The strategy developed by Earth combined both military precision and advanced technology. Human fleets, using faster-than-light propulsion, traveled at maximum speed toward the alien homeworld, equipped with advanced weapons designed to target infrastructure, communication networks, and military installations. Nova Horizon played a critical role in guiding the fleet. Using its sensors, the Outpost identified vulnerable points, analyzed enemy defenses, and provided real-time intelligence that allowed Earth's forces to strike effectively. The crew's data, collected under extreme duress, had become a cornerstone of the counterstrike, proving that preparation and careful observation could turn the tide of interstellar conflict. Back at Nova Horizon, the crew worked tirelessly to ensure that the Outpost could remain operational during the strike. Shields were reinforced, critical systems were stabilized, and contingency plans were updated. Every member of the crew had a specific role, and coordination was essential. Engineers rerouted power to defensive turrets, ensuring maximum efficiency, while soldiers prepared for any possible counterattack from the alien fleet. Scientists continued to monitor the enemy, feeding crucial data to Earth's command. Despite the exhaustion and lingering injuries, the crew's sense of duty never wavered. They were acutely aware that their actions were influencing the outcome of humanity's first decisive interstellar engagement. The human fleet arrived in the alien system with precision timing. Guided by Nova Horizon's intelligence, they targeted the alien homeworld's key infrastructures, energy grids, communication hubs, and defensive installations. Each strike was calculated to maximize impact while minimizing unnecessary collateral damage. Though in the scale of warfare, total avoidance of destruction was impossible. The alien species, caught off guard by the speed and precision of the human counterattack, struggled to respond effectively. Their fleet, powerful as it was, could not protect all vital systems simultaneously, and their attempts to defend their homeworld were fragmented and reactive. From the perspective of the Nova Horizon crew, the events unfolding in real time were both inspiring and terrifying. Through the station's long-range observation instruments, they could see the alien world being systematically disabled. Massive energy blasts tore through cities and military complexes. Communication nodes went dark, leaving the aliens disoriented. The scale of destruction was unprecedented, and the crew was acutely aware of the moral weight of what was happening. While the attack was necessary to prevent further assaults on human colonies, it also meant the near-total annihilation of an intelligent civilization. Crew members struggled with the reality that their mission had shifted from defense to active participation in the destruction of a world. The battle, however, was not entirely one-sided. Pockets of alien resistance attempted counterstrikes, targeting both Earth's fleet and Nova Horizon itself. These attacks were fierce, testing the resilience and ingenuity of the human forces. Defensive turrets at the outpost engaged incoming projectiles, and emergency protocols were executed flawlessly. Engineers repaired minor damages in real time, ensuring the station remained fully operational. The aliens' determination to resist was formidable, but the coordination, preparation, and advanced technology of the human forces proved superior. The tide of the conflict had decisively shifted in humanity's favor. As the human assault continued, the alien homeworld began to show signs of collapse. Critical infrastructure, from energy production to communication arrays, was destroyed. Without their core systems, the alien fleet could no longer coordinate effectively. Attempts to regroup failed, leaving remaining ships vulnerable to targeted attacks. Within hours, the alien species' ability to wage organized war was effectively neutralized. Earth's command monitored every development with precision, adjusting strategies to ensure the destruction of military and industrial capabilities, while avoiding unnecessary destruction of environmental systems. The operation was calculated, ruthless, and ultimately decisive. In the aftermath of the strike, Nova Horizon remained a critical outpost for observation and recovery. The crew assessed damages to the station, tended to injured personnel, and ensured that all systems were stable. Though the immediate threat had been neutralized, the experience left a lasting impression on everyone involved. They had witnessed the destruction of an entire civilization, seen the raw power of coordinated interstellar warfare, and experienced firsthand the responsibility that came with humanity's expanding reach into the cosmos. The crew understood that their survival, and the survival of Earth's colonies, had been dependent on both their courage and their role as eyes and ears in a dangerous universe. The resolution of the conflict did not mean the end of vigilance. Even after the alien fleet was neutralized and their homeworld devastated, the crew at Nova Horizon maintained heightened alertness. The universe was vast and threats could emerge from unexpected places. The experience had taught them that survival required constant preparation, adaptability, and unity. Training exercises were updated to reflect new realities. Systems were upgraded to prevent similar vulnerabilities, and protocols for rapid response were reinforced. Humanity's presence in distant space had been secured, but it was now clear that this security came with the responsibility of constant readiness. For the crew, the resolution of the battle also carried a profound emotional weight. Survivors reflected on the human cost, the moral implications, and the personal losses endured during the conflict. They had fought bravely, preserved the outpost, and ensured humanity's safety. But the knowledge that they had played a part in the annihilation of a civilization weighed heavily on their conscience. Conversations in the quiet hours of the outpost turned to reflections on ethics, the value of life, and the responsibilities that came with power. These reflections would remain with them long after the immediate danger had passed. Despite the moral complexity, there was also a sense of pride and accomplishment. Nova Horizon had survived a series of attacks from an alien species with advanced technology and aggressive intent. The crew's ability to coordinate, adapt, and endure under extreme conditions had been crucial to the successful defense and subsequent counterattack. Every member of the outpost had contributed, from engineers and scientists to soldiers and medical personnel. The collective effort had not only ensured survival but had demonstrated humanity's capacity for resilience, ingenuity, and decisive action in the face of overwhelming odds. The resolution of the conflict also marked a turning point in humanity's understanding of its place in the galaxy. For the first time, humans had directly confronted an alien civilization, faced a credible threat, and responded with overwhelming force. Lessons learned during the engagement would inform future strategies, policies, and approaches to interstellar exploration and defense. Nova Horizon's crew had become pioneers not only in exploration but in humanity's capacity to project power, protect colonies, and confront unknown dangers. Their experiences would shape the next generation of interstellar strategy and the continued expansion of human civilization into the stars. In the days following the attack, Nova Horizon focused on recovery and assessment. Damaged systems were repaired, supply chains were re-established, and crew members who had been injured received care and rehabilitation. Scientists analyzed the remnants of alien technology, attempting to understand its design, capabilities, and potential applications for human use. Soldiers conducted drills and reviewed combat strategies to ensure readiness for any future encounters. The outpost had survived, but the lessons of the battle remained vivid in every mind on station. Through this resolution, it became clear that Nova Horizon's role had evolved. No longer was it simply an observation post at the edge of human space. It had become a symbol of humanity's resilience, a first line of defense, and a center of strategic importance. The actions of the crew had not only saved the outpost but had contributed directly to the neutralization of a formidable alien threat. Their experience would inform future missions, strengthen protocols, and shape the culture of human space exploration for years to come. The resolution of the conflict ultimately demonstrated that humanity could face the unknown with courage, intelligence, and unity. Nova Horizon's crew had endured a sustained and sophisticated attack, had adapted to unforeseen challenges, and had played a pivotal role in humanity's decisive counterstrike. The battle had tested them physically, mentally, and emotionally, but it had also proven that humans could survive, endure, and prevail even in the most extreme circumstances. The experience would forever define the outpost and its crew, leaving a legacy of bravery, ingenuity, and determination. As calm returned to the outpost and the immediate threat receded, the crew allowed themselves a moment of reflection. They had faced unimaginable danger, witnessed the power of human ingenuity, and experienced the consequences of actions that reached far beyond their immediate environment. Their courage, teamwork, and skill had secured survival. Yet the knowledge of what had been lost weighed heavily on their hearts. In the vast silence of space, Nova Horizon stood, as both a testament to human resilience and a reminder of the responsibilities that came with venturing into the unknown. The aftermath of the conflict left an indelible mark on every person at Nova Horizon. The station, though structurally sound, bore visible and invisible scars. Walls had been damaged, some systems required constant monitoring, and the crew carried injuries both physical and emotional. The alien threat had been neutralized, but the experience had changed the crew forever. Life at the outpost resumed, but it was never quite the same. Each person moved with a heightened awareness of the fragility of life and the weight of their responsibilities. The battle had tested humanity's limits, and the lessons lingered in every decision, every action, and every conversation. The survivors reflected on the immense responsibility they had carried. The destruction of the alien homeworld was a decisive action that had ensured the safety of human colonies, but it also represented the loss of an entire civilization. Crew members wrestled with the moral implications. Some struggled with guilt, wondering if there might have been another way to protect humanity without causing such widespread destruction. Others focused on the necessity of their actions, understanding that hesitation could have resulted in even greater loss of life on Nova Horizon and elsewhere. The debate between moral responsibility and survival became a quiet, persistent undertone in daily life at the outpost. As weeks passed, the focus shifted to recovery and rebuilding. Systems damaged during the attacks were repaired or replaced. Supply lines were reinforced and defensive protocols were upgraded. Engineers and technicians worked tirelessly to improve the station's resilience, ensuring that future threats could be met more efficiently. Scientists analyzed the alien technology and energy signatures, learning from the designs of the enemy and incorporating insights into human systems. Every repair and upgrade carried the dual purpose of practical necessity and symbolic reassurance, demonstrating that humanity could endure, adapt, and grow stronger even after the most harrowing challenges. The crew also faced the challenge of psychological recovery. Many had witnessed colleagues injured or lost during the battle, and the emotional toll was heavy. Group discussions, individual counseling, and shared reflection became central to daily life. Crew members talked about the fear, the adrenaline, and the moments when they believed the outpost might be lost. These conversations were not only therapeutic but also helped build deeper bonds among the crew. Each person realized that survival had depended not only on skill and technology but also on trust, unity, and mutual support. The shared experience of facing overwhelming odds created a unique and unbreakable sense of camaraderie. Communication with Earth remained a critical focus. After the counterstrike, Nova Horizons sent detailed reports describing the battle, the alien technology, and the outcomes of each engagement. These reports informed future strategic planning, allowing Earth's command to develop protocols for dealing with potential threats in other parts of the galaxy. Nova Horizons' crew understood that their experiences had changed humanity's approach to space exploration. The knowledge they provided ensured that human colonies could be better prepared, and that the lessons learned from the confrontation with the alien species would guide decisions for generations. The alien threat had also sparked philosophical and ethical debates on Earth and within the crew. Questions about the morality of total destruction, the value of non-human life, and the responsibilities of a technologically advanced civilization dominated conversations. Scholars, military leaders, and ordinary citizens wrestled with the reality that human survival had been ensured at the cost of annihilating another species. Within the outpost, these discussions were more personal and immediate. Crew members grappled with their own feelings about their roles in the destruction and what it meant for the definition of humanity. While survival had been necessary, the consequences of their actions left lasting emotional and ethical weight. Amidst these reflections, there was also recognition of the courage and skill displayed during the crisis. Each member of the crew had contributed to the survival of Nova Horizon and the success of the counterstrike. The soldiers who defended the station, the engineers who repaired systems under fire, the scientists who provided crucial intelligence, and the medical teams who cared for the injured all had performed extraordinary acts of bravery. Recognition ceremonies and informal acknowledgments allowed the crew to honor each other's contributions, fostering morale and a renewed sense of purpose. Despite the hardships, pride in what they had achieved helped offset the emotional toll of the experience. Life slowly regained a sense of routine. But it was a new kind of routine, shaped by the memory of the attacks and the knowledge that humanity now occupied a galaxy where dangers were real and unpredictable. Training exercises became more rigorous, systems were constantly tested, and observation protocols were enhanced. Nova Horizon became not just an outpost but a central hub for strategic defense, research, and preparedness. Every action, every observation, and every decision was now informed by the experience of surviving the first major interstellar conflict. The crew understood that vigilance was not optional. It was the key to continued survival and success in a universe filled with unknown threats. The outpost also became a center of learning and adaptation. Data collected during the attacks was meticulously analyzed to improve defensive strategies, communication protocols, and emergency response plans. Scientists studied the alien technology, extracting insights that could enhance human engineering and energy systems. Soldiers and tactical officers examined engagement patterns to develop more effective combat strategies. The experience transformed Nova Horizon into a living laboratory, where the harsh realities of conflict provided lessons that would shape humanity's approach to space exploration and interstellar defense for decades. Despite the focus on rebuilding and preparation, moments of reflection were central to the crew's recovery. On quiet nights, individuals would look out at the stars, contemplating the vastness of space, the fragility of life, and the enormity of what had occurred. They reflected on the courage it had taken to endure the attacks, the ingenuity required to survive, and the moral complexity of their actions. These moments were deeply personal, yet they also connected each crew member to the larger mission of humanity, ensuring survival, advancing knowledge, and navigating the ethical challenges that came with exploring and inhabiting the galaxy. The experience of facing and overcoming such a formidable threat also strengthened the crew's sense of identity and purpose. They were no longer simply scientists, engineers, or soldiers. They were pioneers, guardians, and witnesses to history. The skills, courage, and unity they had demonstrated became part of a shared legacy, a story that would be told to future generations of explorers and colonists. Nova Horizon stood as a symbol of humanity's resilience, its capacity for adaptation, and its determination to survive and thrive even in the face of overwhelming adversity. Over time, the immediate emotional impact of the attacks began to fade, but the lessons remained vivid. Crew members incorporated the knowledge gained into daily practice, improving protocols, refining strategies, and preparing for any future threats. The station itself became a model of efficiency and preparedness, demonstrating that even in the farthest reaches of space, humanity could maintain order, resilience, and strategic advantage. Nova Horizon's continued operation served as both a practical asset and a symbolic reminder of what humanity could achieve when confronted with extraordinary challenges. The aftermath also prompted the crew to consider the long-term implications of humanity's expansion into the galaxy. They understood that encounters with other civilizations, friendly or hostile, would be inevitable. The destruction of the alien homeworld, while necessary for survival, illustrated the moral and strategic complexities of interstellar engagement. The crew's experiences informed ongoing discussions about diplomacy, defense, ethics, and the responsibilities of advanced civilizations. Nova Horizon was no longer just a frontier outpost. It was a testing ground for humanity's ability to navigate the unknown, both practically and morally. In the months that followed, the crew established programs to maintain mental health, reinforce teamwork, and ensure operational efficiency. Each member had experienced extreme stress, yet their collective resilience allowed them to continue functioning at peak capacity. The bonds forged in the fires of conflict became stronger, providing a foundation of trust and mutual support that would endure long after the immediate threat had passed. These relationships became a critical element of the outpost's long-term stability and effectiveness, demonstrating that human survival depended as much on unity and cooperation as on technology or strategy. The story of Nova Horizon and its crew became a source of inspiration for humanity. Their courage, endurance, and ability to confront unimaginable danger were celebrated in reports, academic studies, and public accounts. Yet, the crew themselves remained humble, aware that survival had depended on preparation, coordination, and quick thinking. They understood that the lessons they had learned were invaluable, but that the universe remained unpredictable and potentially hostile. Each success carried with it the reminder that vigilance, adaptability, and moral awareness were essential for the continued survival and growth of humanity in the stars. Ultimately, the aftermath of the conflict was both sobering and enlightening. Nova Horizon had survived, humanity had secured its colonies, and the immediate threat had been eliminated. Yet the crew had witnessed the devastating consequences of war, confronted the ethical dilemmas of survival, and experienced the profound weight of responsibility that came with their role. Their reflections, both personal and collective, to shape the culture of the outpost, informed Earth's strategies, and ensured that the lessons learned would guide humanity's future exploration and defense. Through recovery, reflection, and preparation, the crew of Nova Horizon emerged stronger, wiser, and more united. They had faced the unknown, endured unimaginable challenges, and contributed decisively to humanity's survival. The outpost continued to operate as a center of vigilance, knowledge, and strategy, embodying the resilience and determination of those who had fought to preserve it. The experiences of the crew became part of a larger narrative, one of courage, moral complexity, and the enduring human spirit in the face of the vast and unpredictable universe. Even years later, the crew would recall the events with clarity. They remembered the fear, the courage, the strategy, and the heartbreak. They remembered the moments of triumph and the moments of doubt. And through these reflections, they understood that survival was not merely a matter of technology or strength, but of unity, perseverance, and the willingness to face the consequences of actions taken for the greater good. Nova Horizon had become a symbol of humanity's capacity to endure, adapt, and learn in the most extreme circumstances. And the lessons of that experience would resonate far beyond the outpost, guiding humanity as it continued its journey into the stars.